Hi there, welcome to another painting tutorial. Today we're going to paint a robin with acrylic paints. So let's get started. I'm going to start with a size 0 round brush. And let's put a little bit of black around the eye area. And then inside that eye area, I'm going to put some white. I actually need white on the palette. And let's pick up a little bit of white and see if we can put a highlight in there while it's still wet, because I want it to blend together nicely. Just gonna blend that in. Okay, and then around that we can take some of this burnt umber, which is a dark brown, and let's put that around the eye. And then around that we could get, let's mix a beige color. So I'm going to take Terra Cotta with some yellow and some white. See if that'll make us a beige. And then pick up that color and then put that on either side to create a little bit of an eyelid. Okay, and then around that, let's rinse off the brush. Take some of the beige that has a little bit more white in it and just go around that eye. And you can pick up some burnt sienna and bring that down on either side. Okay. So now let's look at the beak. I'm going to take some of the burnt umber. I'm going to go around the beak and grab the sketch in the description below so that you can paint along and you have the exact sketch that you need to create this painting. Then pick up some yellow paint. And while that burnt umber is still wet, you want this yellow to mix in there. Then pick up some white and then mix that in. That white can create a highlight at the top of this beak here. Okay, and then let's pick up this gray color and then put that around the beak. And then I'm going to pick up some black and mix that in with the dark gray, just so I can get sort of a dark gray. And then I'm going to bring that, let's bring that over here and then around the eye. Then we can come out this way a little bit and around this way. Then we can go around the top of the head with this gray paint and maybe over here a little bit. Then we want to transition lighter, so I'm going to rinse off the brush and then grab this straight gray. And while the paint is still wet, careful not to get too much water. While the paint is still wet, let's put that in around the head area and allow it to blend together. Then I'm going to pick up some white paint and start feathering that in. That's going to create a little bit of a texture when I make these brush strokes sort of in the shape that the feathers are growing. Okay, the 0 round brush is perfect for that. And I might want to bring some darker color back. So I'm going to pick up that dark gray. And I'm just going to make some textured feathers around this part of kind of underneath the neck. And over here. Okay. And then I'll take a little bit of white and put some feathers underneath his chin with that white paint. Okay, then I want to get darker, so I'll take some black and start feathering that down over here. Okay, so now let's work on the feet. So we'll take some of the burnt umber and I'm going to put this under here. So with the feet, I'm going to be pretty loose. The feet are not my focal point, so I'm not worried about getting them too precise. And then I'm going to take some of the light. Let's take this Terra Cotta color. Just going to start putting that in along the edge of that burnt umber, and that's going to blend together. Okay, and then I might just put a little bit of texture on there. So I can use that beige that we mixed up. And you could put little highlights, little textures, maybe a line going up. You can just sort of imply it. It doesn't have to be too detailed. And then let's take the dark burnt umber, put that up here at the top of the other foot. And then again, same idea. So I'm sort of just outlining. I'm going around where the shadows are, the darkest areas. And then I'll take that Terra Cotta and bring it down, allow the paint to mix together up here. Okay. And then let's get lighter. So just take that light color, make a line down the leg for a highlight, and just use the tip of the brush to create a little bit of texture. Okay, nothing too detailed. And now let's work on the feathers. So we could do this feather first. Let's take some black and start coming down this way. And then pick up some of this brown, the burnt umber, and start bringing that down. And then over here. Okay, so now we want to get lighter. So I'm going to take some white paint and I'm going to blend that in and just sort of feather it in pretty loose as well. Maybe take some gray and put a little bit of gray in as well. Okay, just making these little lines. All right, and then let's do the other feathers. So for that, I think I'm going to switch brushes. Let's get a bigger brush. I'm going to use a size 4 filbert brush. And let's work on these wings. So let's start with the dark color. We can do some burnt umber and maybe some black as well. So I'm going to use the dark colors right now to go around the shape that we have in the sketch. Okay, and then just creating a dark base with the black, with the burnt umber, and even with the gray. Okay, and then while that's still wet, I'm going to pick up some white paint, and then on the very edge of my brush, I'm going to use that to create some of the feather shapes just apply them lightly with that edge of the brush. So I just want some lines here and just some feather shapes. Okay, doesn't have to be too detailed. And then up here, same idea. So let's rinse that brush. And we can take some dark color, it's dark gray, and put a nice base. And this brush is nice for making feathers because it has that curved shape. So I'm going to add some of the dark brown, that burnt umber, and some black, being pretty loose right here, and the dark gray as well. Okay, just a nice variety of color, or shadow color. And then we'll pick up some white paint and let's start putting in some little shapes for the feathers. Okay, so we're really working wet on wet here. Just creating some texture. Now I'm going to make straight lines. Okay, so pretty loose. Okay, so now let's make this area down here. I'm going to grab some gray paint and let's start putting in this part of the belly. Can let it be gray, and then we could pick up a little bit of white and apply some of these feathers again, loosely. Okay, so now is the fun part. We can add that really beautiful bright chest area. So let's see how we can do that. So let's start with some of this burnt sienna color. And we're going to use this for a dark shadow value. So I'm putting some of that in. And it's pretty light, so let's take some of the burnt umber and add that in as well, just to get a little bit of a darker shadow. Okay, and then right here, there's just a little bit of a fold, and we can add this dark to sort of make that apparent. Okay, so now let's take some red paint. And there's not really red in this painting, but I want to add the red just to sort of enhance that effect. And then let's take some of the Terra Cotta. So you don't always want to paint completely realistically when you're painting. Sometimes you want to add some colors that are just more vibrant and more enhanced. So I'm using that orange. And then let's pick up some yellow. This yellow is a yellow deep, so it's just a little bit more of an orangey yellow. Okay, so that's super bright and beautiful. Okay, so I'm letting that blend. And you could pick up some white paint and put a few little feathers in there. Feather shapes with the white. That can also create a highlight that might come forward in space as well. Okay, so that is how you can paint a robin with acrylic paints. I hope you give this a try, and like and subscribe for more painting tutorials. Grab your free guide in the description below to improve your painting skills, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!